Summary of A Horse and Two Goats by R.K. Narayan. The beginning of the story gives a short account of Cridom, a small village in India. Muni, the main character of the story, lives in Cridom. The name of the village means coronet or crown in Tamil. It is made up of about 30 thatched huts, with the exception of the big house, a grand home where the villagers can get water from its well and where farmers can rent pens for their animals. One morning, Muni wakes up with a desire for something more delicious than his daily meal of balls of cooked rice and raw onion. Outside his small hut, he picks some drumsticks, or seed pods, from a tree and asks his wife to make a meal with them. Even though her husband is poor, she makes fun of his taste for rich food, but she agrees to make him a curry as long as he goes to the store and buys the ingredients. Muni agrees. But even though he tries to be nice to the seller by laughing at his jokes and talking about him, the shopkeeper won't let him buy the things on credit because Muni doesn't have any money. The store makes fun of Muni in front of his other customers and calls him an old liar and a criminal for not paying back an ancient debt. Muni is desperate, so he lies and tells the shopkeeper that his daughter will soon give him money for his 50th birthday so he can buy the items and pay back the bill. The shopkeeper doesn't believe him, though. Muni goes home feeling sad to tell his wife about the bad news. She sends him out of the house to feed his two goats, which are all he is left of a once large and healthy herd of sheep and goats that died from a disease. Muni's wife understands that she will have to do odd jobs around the town and sell the drumsticks to buy food for dinner. As Muni walks toward the highway with his two scruffy goats, he walks with his head down, thinking about all the bad rumors that are going around the village about him. Once he gets to his favorite place, which is next to a highway and has an old, big statue of a fighter on a horse, he starts to feel better. Since Muni was a child, the figure has stood in this exact spot. His parents and grandparents told him stories about it. Suddenly, a stranger in a yellow station wagon comes speeding down the highway, only to stop suddenly in front of Muni after running out of gas. A red-faced foreigner gets out of the car and asks Muni if there is a gas station nearby. However, the two men can't talk to each other because the red-faced foreigner is an American visitor who only speaks English and Muni only speaks Tamil. The stranger asks Muni a lot of questions and is shocked and surprised that Muni doesn't speak English, since he has only been able to get around India with English. The foreigner tells Muni, who doesn't understand what he's saying, that he and his wife Ruth decided to go to India on a whim after what he calls a life-changing and monumental ordeal, having to work in New York City's Empire State Building without air conditioning on a hot summer day during a brownout. He says that when the power went out, he had a kind of epiphany that he needed to look at other civilizations. Muni is afraid of the foreigner at first, and he thinks he must be a policeman because he is dressed in khaki, which is what British policemen wore during the colonial era. Muni says he knows nothing about a murder that happened near his village recently and that the murderer must live in the next village over. As the stranger gives Muni cigarettes, he starts to feel more comfortable and grateful for his kindness. Later, he gets more talkative and tells the stranger about his childhood when he was a stage player who put on plays based on myths. Muni talks about the religious and mythological meanings of the statue of a horse that he is sitting on. He tells the stranger, who seems interested in the figure, that it shows Kalki, the final incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu, who will come back at the end of the Kali Yuga, or the darkest age of humanity, as a messiah to destroy a hopelessly dark world and start the circle of time over again. The stranger, who doesn't understand, gets more and more irritable until he says, "We should be ready to talk business now." He tells Muni, who he thinks is the statue's owner, that he wants to buy the statue from him. Again, Muni doesn't understand him, and when the stranger pets one of his goats, he thinks he's giving him 100 rupees for the goat, not the statue. At first, Muni thought that the offer of money was a request for change, so he told the stranger to talk to the moneylender in the village. After some time, Muni realizes that the money is for him. Muni takes the money and leaves his goats with the stranger. When Muni gets home, he tells his wife that he has sold his goats, which had been a curse and a steady reminder of how far he had fallen in the world. At first, His wife thinks that he must have stolen the money because 100 rupees is a lot of money. But Muni's happiness doesn't last long, because soon he hears goats bleating at his door. As expected, the goats have followed their owner back home. The stranger stands next to the statue and looks confused. He thinks that Muni has gone to get help to get the horse figure off its pedestal so he can put it in his car. After waiting for a while on the side of the road, the stranger is able to stop a passing truck and pay the drivers to help him move the figure into his car. Then he pays them to let him siphon gas from their truck into his station wagon so he can get it going again. At the end of the story, neither man has any idea what the other was trying to say.
About the author. R.K. Narayan was born in Chennai, which is a South Indian city. He spent most of his time in the city with his grandmother, who took care of him because his father was a headmaster and had to move around a lot. Narayan liked books and writing from a young age. After he finished college and worked for a short time as a teacher, he chose to focus on writing full-time. His early career, on the other hand, was hard. Even though one of the most famous writers of the time, the British author Graham Greene, had read his work and told his publishers that they should print it, Narayan's early books did not sell well, and he had trouble making money. But he kept writing, and by the end of the 1940s, he had a large number of fans and was making more money. As his fame grew, he went on more trips. He went to Australia, the United States, and England, where he finally met Graham Greene, one of his biggest fans. Narayan moved to the city of Mysore in southern India and kept writing until he was very old. His fiction, which takes place almost completely in the made-up town of Malgudi in southern India, is often funny and ironic in the way it talks about things like the conflict between tradition and technology, capitalism, family, and Hindu mythology. By the time he died in 2001, he was one of India's most prominent English-language writers.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.